Hello, and welcome to Virtual Theatre 2020's production of George Bernard Shaw's classic story, Pygmalion. I'm the director, and as the little name tag in the corner says, Colonel Pickering for the evening, John O'Gwen. Tonight's production is an adaptation of Shaw's text, constructed by myself and the cast to keep the structure and heart of the play intact, while updating the issues of class, sex, and empowerment in the text to a form more familiar to a modern audience, particularly an American one, to whom the Cockney accents of the original may put more viewers in mind of magical nannies than real people facing real problems. The show runs through 5 acts, lasting a little over 2 hours, with an intermission of about 7 minutes following the 3rd act. There'll be a short talkback following the play where you can ask myself and the other members of the team about the process, the show, and other salient details. Normally at this point, I would tell you where to buy concessions or how to find the bathrooms, but I'm afraid in a digital performance, you're on your own in that regard. You can follow Virtual Theatre 2020 on Facebook for updates about other upcoming digital performances. And if you'd like to help support our work, we have a GoFundMe page we use to help cover the costs of these productions. We hope you enjoy the show.
I'm freezing. What's Freddie doing this whole time? It's been 20 minutes.
Not quite. You should have a cab by now.
Oh, he won't get a cab until 10:30, ma'am, when they come back after dropping off the theater crowd.
But we need a cab. We can't stand here until 10:30 in this downpour.
Well, it ain't my fault.
If Freddie had a spine, he would have got one at the theater.
What should he have done?
Other people got cabs. Why couldn't he? Well, did you get a cab?
There's none without a fare already, and no one would give up a spot in this for love or money.
Oh, Freddie, there must be one.
Do you want us to go and get one ourselves?
I told you, they're all taken. The rain was so sudden, no one was ready, and everyone wanted a cab. I've been west to 9th and 53rd one way and nearly to Carnegie Hall the other, and they were all taken.
Why didn't you go all the way to Carnegie?
I didn't see any taxis out in front.
Are you sure?
I said I didn't see any. Was I supposed to walk all the way to Central Park?
You didn't really try at all.
You're completely helpless, Freddie. Go look again and don't come back without a cab.
I'll simply get soaked for nothing.
And? Are we supposed to walk all the way uptown in this downpour? You selfish dick!
No, okay, I'll go, okay.
What are you doing, Freddie? Watch it.
Sorry.
Sorry. 2 whole bouquets of violets on the street.
How did you know my son's name was Freddie?
Oh, your son, is he? Well, if you'd raised him right, he'd know better than to knock over poor gal's flowers and run off without paying. You gonna pay for him?
Mom, don't.
Hush, Clara. Do you have any ones?
No, nothing smaller than a 20.
I can break a 20.
Give it to me. Now, this is for your flowers.
Thank you so much.
At least get some change. These things can't be more than $5 a bunch.
Hush, Clara. You can keep the change.
Oh, thank you.
Now, tell me how you knew my son's name.
I didn't.
Why did you say it? Don't lie to me.
Who's lying? I called him Freddie as a, what do you call it, placeholder? Not the guys in town are named Freddie or Jimmy or Tommy.
A whole 20 down the drain. Thanks, Mom.
Oh, sir, is there any sign of it stopping?
I'm afraid not. It got worse than ever a few minutes ago.
Oh, dear.
If it's getting worse, it's a sign it's nearly over. So cheer up, boss, and buy a flower off a poor gal.
I'm sorry, I haven't any change.
I can give you change, mister.
For 100, I have nothing less.
Oh, buy a flower off me. I can change 50. Take this for a dime.
Don't be a pain. There's a girl. No, I really haven't any Oh, stop. Here's a nickel. That's any use to you?
Thank you, boss.
Be careful, girl. Give him a flower for it. There's a man behind us writing down every damn word you're saying.
I have done nothing wrong by talking to the fella. I have a right to sell flowers as long as I keep out of the street. I'm a respectable girl. I am. So help me. I only spoke to him to buy a flower off me. Oh, don't let him arrest me. You don't know what it means to me. They'll ruin my reputation, drive me on the streets for solicitation.
There. Calm down. Who's hurting you? What do you take me for?
Oh, groovy. It's cool, man. Check out his duds. Thought you were a narc, man.
Oh, what's a narc?
It's a narc, you know, man. Like an informer.
I swear to God, I never said a word to that man.
Oh, shut up. Do I look like the fuzz?
Then why writing down what I say? How do I know whether you wrote it down right? You show me what you wrote about me. What's that? That ain't English. I can't read that.
I can. Cheer up, boss, and buy a flower off poor girl.
It's because I called him boss. I wasn't like flirting or nothing. Oh, don't let him charge me for a word like that. You can't let him
Really, sir, if you are an officer, you don't need to protect me from being harassed by young women unless I ask you. Anybody could see that she's just trying to sell flowers.
And a narc, man. It's an egghead. Yeah, that's what he is. I tell you, man. Check out his duds.
And how are all your people down at Brighton Beach?
Told you that, man.
Doesn't matter. A bit of a commute coming all the way from working in Manhattan, eh? You were born in Perth Amboy and live in Hoboken, I'm sure.
Oh, what harm is there in leaving the shore? It ain't fit for the lads to live in and I have to pay $50 a week. Oh.
Live where you like, but stop that noise.
Come. He can't touch you. You have a right to live where you please.
The Hamptons, for instance. I want to play this little game of where am I from with you.
I'm a good girl, I am.
Do you know where I come from?
Crown Heights.
Well, who said I didn't? Damn, you really do know everything.
There ain't no reason to mess with me.
Of course there ain't. Don't you take that from him. See here, what business do you have knowing things about people that never bothered you? Where's your warrant?
Let him say what he wants. I don't want to deal with him.
Feel like a big man picking on us little people? Won't catch you messing with someone your own size, right?
Yes, tell him where he comes from if you want to go on fortune telling.
London, Green Hill, India, and Kuwait.
Quite right. May I ask, sir, if you do this for a living, say on the Ed Sullivan show?
I thought of that. Perhaps I shall someday.
He's so gentleman. He ain't interfere with the poor gal.
What on earth is Freddie doing? I'm gonna get pneumonia if I stay in this downpour any longer.
West Village.
Excuse me?
Oh, did I say that out loud? I didn't mean to. I beg your pardon. Your mother's Lake Placid, unmistakably.
Very curious. I was brought up in Loon Lake, near Lake Placid.
What a devil of a name. Excuse me. You want a cab, do you?
Don't dare speak to me.
Oh, please, Clara. We would be very grateful to you, sir, if you found us a cab. Oh, thank you.
Oh, there. I knew he was a plainclothes officer.
That ain't a police whistle, it's a sports whistle.
He ain't no right to take away my character. My character is the only thing that's to me high society ladies.
I don't know whether you've noticed, but the rain stopped about 2 minutes ago.
So it has. Why didn't you say so before? Got us wasting our time listening to your nonsense.
Well, I can tell where you come from. You come from Hudson Square. Go back there.
Hudson Square.
Oh, thank you, teacher. So long.
frightening people like that. How would he like it if someone just like came up to him and just,
All right now, Clara. We can walk to a bus stop. Come.
But the cab. Oh, what a drag.
poor gal, hard enough for her to live without being worried and harassed.
How do you do it, if I may ask?
Simple phonetics, the science of speech. That's my profession. Also my hobby. Happy is the man who can make a living by his hobby. You can spot an Irishman by his brogue or a Londoner by his R's. I can place any man in America within 20 miles. I can place him within 10 blocks in New York City, sometimes within 2.
Ought to be ashamed of himself, the coward.
Can you make a living in that?
Oh, yes. This is an age of opportunity. Men start off in Oklahoma making $5,000 a year and end up millionaires in Manhattan. They want to sound sophisticated, but they go right back to the farm every time they open their mouths. Now, I teach them how to really
Let him mind his own business and leave a poor gal alone.
Woman, cease this detestable boo-hooing instantly, or else seek the shelter of some other place.
I have a right to be here if I like, same as you.
Who utters such depressing and disgusting sounds has no right to be anywhere, no right to live. Remember that you are a human being with the soul and the divine gift of articulate speech. That your native language is the language of Shakespeare and Milton and the Bible. Don't sit there crooning like a bilious pigeon. Sound. You see this girl with her broken English? English that will keep her in the gutter all her life. I could pass her off as an heiress at the Met Gala. I could get her a job as a weather girl or an air hostess, which requires better English by far. That's what I get paid to do for millionaires. And on the side, I do real meaningful work in phonetics and a little as poet.
I myself am a student of Middle Eastern dialects, and
Are you? Do you know Colonel Colin Pickering, the author of Conversation?
I am the Colonel. Who are you?
Henry Higgins, author of Higgins' Universal Alphabet.
I came from Kuwait to meet you.
I was going to Kuwait to meet you.
Where do you live?
27A Canal Street. Come, see me tomorrow.
I'm at the Ritz-Carlton. Come with me now, and let's have a drink over and chat.
Right, you are.
Buy a flower, kind gentleman. I'm short for my lodging.
I really haven't any change. I'm sorry.
Liar. You said you could change $50.
You ought to be shot, you know that? Here, take the whole damn basket for $1.
A reminder.
Got the last one. Hello. Where are the two ladies that were here?
Oh, they walked to the bus and the rain stopped.
Left me with the cab on my hands. Damn it.
Oh, never you mind, young man. I'm going home in a taxi. 30 cents ain't no object to me, Charlie. Take her through the Lincoln Tunnel. Let's see how fast you can make her happy.
What the?
Oh, well, I think that's the whole of it.
It's really quite amazing. I haven't taken half of it in, you know?
Would you like to go over any of it again?
No, thank you. Not now. I'm quite done up for this morning.
Tired of listening to sounds?
Oh, yes. It's a fearful strain. I rather fancied myself because I can pronounce 24 distinct vowel sounds, but 130 has me beat. I can't hear a bit of difference between most of them.
That comes with practice. You hear nothing at first, but keep on listening, and soon you'll find there's a difference as A from B. What's the matter?
Young woman wants to see you, sir.
A young woman? What does she want?
Well, sir, she says you'll be glad to see her when you know what she's come about. She's a common girl, very common indeed. I would have sent her away, but I thought perhaps you wanted to record her. Hope that's all right. Really, you see such strange people sometimes, sir. You'll excuse me, I'm sure, but...
That's all right, Mrs. Pierce. Does she have an interesting accent?
Oh, something dreadful, sir. Really? I don't know how you can take an interest in it.
Let's have her up. Show her up, Mrs. Pierce.
Very well, sir. It's for you to say.
This is a bit of luck. I'll show you how I make records. We'll set her talking, and I'll take her down first in Belle's visible speech, and then in broad bromic, and then we'll get her on the phonograph so you can turn her on as often as you like with a written transcript before you.
This is the young woman, sir.
Oh. Well, I've already gotten all that I want out of the Jersey Shore dialect. This is the girl I jotted down last night. She's no use. I'm not going to waste another record on it. Be gone with you. I don't want you.
Don't you be so sure. You ain't have what I come for yet. Did you tell him I come in a taxi?
Nonsense, girl. What do you think a gentleman like Mr. Higgins cares what you came in?
Oh, we are proud. He ain't above giving lessons. I heard him say so. Well, I come here to talk for any compliment I haven't. But if my money's not good enough, I can go elsewhere.
Good enough for what?
Good enough for you. Now you know, don't you? I come to have lessons I have. And to pay for them too. Make no mistake.
Well, what do you expect me to say to you?
Well, if you were a gentleman, you'd ask me to sit down. I think. And I tell you I'm bringing you business.
Pickering, shall we ask this baggage to sit down, or shall we throw her out the window?
Oh! I will be called a baggage when I've offered to pay like anyone else.
What is it you want, my dear?
I want to be a lady in a flower shop instead of selling at the street corner, but they won't take me unless I can talk more genteel. He said he could teach me. Well, here I am, ready to pay him, not asking any favor. And he treats me as if I was dirt.
How can you be such a foolish, ignorant girl to think you could afford Mr. Higgins?
Oh, why shouldn't I? I know what lessons cost as well as you do, and I'm ready to pay.
How much?
I thought you'd come off it when you saw a chance of getting back a bit of what you chucked at me last night. You had a drink or two and you hadn't you?
Sit down.
Oh, if you're going to make a compliment of it.
Sit down.
Sit down, girl. Do as you're told.
Oh!
Won't you sit down?
Don't mind if I do.
What's your name?
Eliza Doolittle.
I expect you'll do little enough.
Don't be silly.
Mustn't speak to the gentleman like that.
Well, why won't he speak sensibly to me?
Back to business. How much do you propose to pay me for the lessons?
I know it's right. A lady friend of mine gets French lessons for 40 cents an hour from a real French gentleman. Well, you wouldn't have the nerve to ask me the same from teaching me my own language as you would for French, so I won't give more than a quarter. Take it or leave it.
You know, Pickering, if you consider this as not as simply a quarter, but as a percentage of this girl's income, it works out to the equivalent of $300 a lesson from a millionaire.
How so?
Oh, simple mathematics. A millionaire has about $750 a day. She earns about 65 cents.
Who told you? I only said
2/5 of her day's income for a lesson. 2/5 of a millionaire's income for a day would be somewhere about $300. It's handsome. By God, it's enormous. It's the biggest offer I've ever had.
$300? Well, what are you talking about? I never offered you $300. Where would I get $300 from?
Hold your tongue.
But I ain't got $300. Oh!
Girl, sit down. Nobody's going to touch your money.
Somebody is going to touch you with a broomstick if you don't stop sniveling. Sit down.
Oh, people might think you was my father.
If I decide to teach you, I'll be worse than two fathers to you. Here.
What's this for?
To wipe your eyes, to wipe any part of your face that feels moist. Remember, that one's your handkerchief and the other one's your sleeve. Don't mistake one for the other if you wish to become a lady in a shop.
It's no use talking to her like that, Mr. Higgins. She doesn't understand you. Besides, you're quite wrong. She doesn't do it that way at all.
Here, you give me that handkerchief. He gave it to me, not you.
He did. I think it must be regarded as hers, Mrs. Pierce.
Serves you right, Mr. Higgins.
Higgins, I'm interested. What about the Met Gala? I'll say you're the greatest teacher alive if you can pull that off. I'll bet you all the expense of the experiment you can't do it. And I'll pay for the lessons.
Oh, you are real good. Thank you, boss.
Almost irresistible. She's so deliciously low, so horribly dirty.
Oh, I ain't dirty. I washed my hands and face before I came. I did.
You're certainly not going to win her over with flattery, Higgins.
Oh, don't say that, sir. There's more than one way to turn a girl's head, and no one can do it better than Mr. Higgins. Though he may not always mean it. I do hope, sir, you won't encourage him to do anything foolish.
Oh, what is life but a series of inspired follies? The difficulty is to find them. Never miss an opportunity. Doesn't come every day. I'm like a duchess of this beaten-down gutter rat.
Oh!
Yes. In 6 months, in 3, if she has a good ear and a quick tongue, I'll take her anywhere and pass her off as anything. We'll start today. Now, this moment. Take her away and clean her, Mrs. Pierce. Use bleach if it won't come off any other way. Is there a good fire in the kitchen?
Well, yes, but
Take all her clothes off and burn them. Call up Macy's or something for new ones. Wrap her in brown paper till they come.
No, gentlemen, you're not to talk of such things. I'm a good gal, I am. I know what the like of you are. I do.
We want none of your prudery here, young woman. You've got to learn to behave like a duchess. Take her away, Mrs. Pierce. If she gives you any trouble, wallop her.
No, I'll call the police, I will.
I've no place to put her, sir.
Put her in the dumpster for all I care.
No!
Come, Higgins, be reasonable.
You really must be reasonable, Mr. Higgins. Really, you must. You can't walk over everybody like this.
I walk over everybody. My dear Mrs. Pierce, my dear Pickering, I've never had the slightest intention of walking over anyone. All I propose is that we should be kind to this poor girl. We must help her to prepare and fit herself for her new station in life. If I did not express myself clearly, it's because I did not wish to hurt her delicacy or yours.
Well, never hear anything like that, sir.
Never, Mrs. Pierce, never.
What's the matter?
What's the matter, sir? You can't take up a girl like you were picking up a pebble on the beach.
Why not?
Why not? You don't know anything about her, sir. What about her parents? She may be married.
Says you.
There, there's the girl very properly states, says you, married in Tyr. Don't you know that a woman of her class looks a worn-out drudge of 50 within a year after she's married?
Who'd marry me?
On my word, Eliza, the streets will be strewn with the bodies of men shooting themselves for your sake before I'm done with you.
Nonsense, sir. You mustn't talk to her like that.
I'm going away. He's out of his mind. I don't want no loonies teaching me.
Oh, indeed. I'm mad, am I? Very well, Mrs. Pierce. You needn't order the new clothes for her. Throw her out.
No! You ain't got no right to touch me.
You see now what comes of being saucy. This way, please.
I didn't want no clothes. I wouldn't taken them. I can buy my own clothes.
You're an ungrateful, wicked girl. This is what I get for offering to take you out of the gutter and dress you beautifully and make a lady out of you.
Stop, Mr. Higgins. I won't allow it. You're the wicked one. Go home to your parents, girl, and tell them to take better care of you.
I ain't got no parents. You told me I was big enough to earn on my own and turned me out.
Where's your father?
I ain't got no father. The one who turned me out was my 6th stepfather. But I done without him. And I'm a good gal. I am.
Very well. Well, then what on the earth is all this fuss about? The girl doesn't belong to anyone. Isn't any use to anyone but me. You could adopt her, Mrs. Pierce. I'm sure a daughter would be a great amusement to you. And don't make any more fuss. Take her downstairs, and there you're going to...
But what's to become of her, sir? Is she to be paid? Do be sensible.
Well, pay her whatever is necessary. Put it down in the housekeeping book. What on earth will she want with money? She'll have her food and her clothes. She'll only drink if you give her money.
Oh, you are a brute. It's a lie. No one calls me a drunk.
Does it occur to you, Higgins, that the girl has some feelings?
Oh, no, I don't think so. Not any feelings that we need to worry about. Do you, Eliza?
I got feelings the same as anyone else.
You see the difficulty?
Which difficulty?
To get her to talk grammar. The pronunciation itself is easy enough.
I don't want want to talk grim. I want to talk like a lady.
Will you please stay on task, Mr. Higgins? I want to know on what terms the girl is to stay here. Am I to pay her? And what is to become of her when you finish your teaching? You must look ahead, sir.
What's to become of her if I leave her in the gutter? Tell me that, Mrs. Pierce.
That's her business, not yours, Mr. Higgins.
Well then, when I'm done with her, we can throw her back into the gutter. And then it'll be her own business again, so that's all right.
Oh, you know that, and you don't care for nothing but yourself. Here, I've had enough of this. I'm going. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, you.
Oh, have some chocolates, Eliza.
How do I know what's in him? I've had gals being drugged by rich boys like you.
A pledge of good faith, Eliza. I eat one half, you eat the other. You shall have boxes of them, barrels of them, every day. You shall live on them, eh?
I wouldn't have ate it, but only I'm too ladylike to spit on a gift.
Listen, Eliza, I think you said you came in a taxi.
Well, what if I did? I have as much a right to take a taxi as anyone else.
You have, Eliza, and in future you shall have as many taxis as you want. You shall go up and down and around the town in a taxi every day. Think of that, Eliza.
Mr. Higgins, you're tempting the girl. It's not right. She should think of the future.
At her age? Nonsense. Time not to think of the future when you have any future to think of. No, Eliza, do as Mrs. Pierce does. Think of other people's futures, but never think of your own. Think of chocolate and taxis and gold and diamonds.
No. I don't want no gold, no diamonds. I'm a good gal. I am.
And you will continue to be one, Eliza, under the care of Mrs. Pierce. And you shall marry an officer in the army with a beautiful mustache, the son of an oil baron, who will disinherit him for marrying you, but will relent when he sees your beauty and your goodness.
But I have to interject. Mrs. Pierce is quite right. If this girl is to put herself in your hands for 6 months for an experiment, she has to understand thoroughly what she's agreeing to.
Well, how can she? She's incapable of understanding anything. Besides, do any of us understand what we are doing? If we did, would we ever do it?
Very clever, Higgins, but not sound sense. Miss Doolittle.
There, that's all you get out of Eliza. No use explaining. As a military man, you ought to know that. Give her her orders. That's what she wants. Eliza, you are to live here for 6 months, learning how to speak beautifully, like a lady in the florist shop. If you're good and do what you're told, you shall sleep in a proper bedroom, have lots to eat and money to buy chocolates and taxis. If you're naughty and idle, you will sleep in the kitchen amongst the rats and be beaten by Mrs. Pierce with a broomstick. At the end of 6 months, you shall go to the Met in a fancy car, beautifully dressed, and if the governor finds out you're not a lady, he will imprison you, take you to Sing Sing, where you'll be in prison for 5 to 10 years as a warning to other presumptuous girls. If you are not found out, you shall have a present of $1,500 to start life with as a lady in a shop. If you refuse this order, you'll be a most ungrateful and wicked girl, and angels will weep for you. Are you satisfied, Pickering? Can I put it more plainly and fairly, Mrs. Pierce?
I think you'd better let me speak to the girl properly in private. I don't know that I can take charge of her or consent to the arrangement at all. Of course, I know you don't mean her any harm, but when you get what you call interested in people's accents, you never think or care what may happen to them or you. Come with me, Eliza.
That's all right. Thank you, Mrs. Pierce. Bundle her off to the bathroom.
You're a great bully, you are. I won't stay here if I don't like, and I don't let no one wallop me up, and I never asked to go to no gala, and I didn't. I never was in trouble with the police. No, I wasn't. I'm a good gal, I am.
Don't answer back, girl. You don't understand the gentleman. Come with me.
Well, am I wrong? I won't go near the governor if I'm to end up in jail, and if I know what I was getting myself into, I wouldn't have come. I was always a good gal, and I don't owe him nothing, and I don't care, and I won't be put upon, and I got my feelings the same as anyone else.
Excuse the straight question, Higgins. Are you a man of good character where women are concerned?
Have you ever met a man of good character where women are concerned?
Yes, very frequently.
Well, I haven't. From the moment I let a woman make friends with me, she becomes jealous, exacting, suspicious, and damn nuisance. And the moment I let it myself make friends with a woman, becomes selfish and tyrannical. Women upset everything. When you let them into your life, you find that the woman is driving at one thing and you're driving at another.
Such as?
Oh, Lord knows. I suppose the woman wants to live her own life and the man wants to live his, and he tries to drag the other on the wrong track. One wants to go north and the other wants to go south, and the result is that they both have to go east. They both hate the east wind. So here I am, a confirmed old bachelor, and likely to remain so.
Come, Higgins, you know what I mean. If I'm to be in this business, I shall feel responsible for that girl. I hope it's understood that no advantage is to be taken of her position.
What? That thing? Sacred, I assure you. She'll be a pupil. Teaching would be impossible unless pupils were sacred. I've taught scores of millionairesses how to speak English. Best-looking woman in the world. I'm seasoned. They might as well be blocks of wood. I might as well be a block of wood. It's really not a... Mrs. Pierce, is it all right?
I just wish to trouble you with a word, if I may, sir.
Oh, yes, certainly. Come in. Don't burn that headband, Mrs. Pierce. I'll keep it as a curiosity.
Handle it carefully, sir, please. I had to promise her not to burn it, but I'd better put it in the oven for a while.
Oh, thank you. Well, what have you to say to me?
Should I step out?
Not at all, sir. Mr. Higgins, will you please be very particular with what you say before the girl?
Of course. I'm always particular about what I say. Why do you say this to me?
You are not at all particular when you've mislaid anything or when you get a little impatient. Now, it doesn't matter before me. I'm used to it. But you really must not swear before the girl.
I swear. I never swear. I detest the habit. What the hell do you mean?
That's what I mean, sir. You swear a great deal too much. I don't mind your damning and blasting and what the hell and where the heck and all.
Really, Mrs. Pierce, this language from your lips.
But there is a certain word I must ask you not to use. The girl has just used it herself because the bath was too hot. It begins with the same letter as fast. She knows no better, but she must not hear it from your lips.
I cannot charge myself with ever having uttered it, Mrs. Pierce. Well, except perhaps in a moment of extreme and justifiable excitement.
Only this morning, sir, you applied it to your fork, the flapjacks, and the fire truck passing by.
That, mere alliteration, Mrs. Pierce, natural to a poet.
Well, sir, whatever you choose to call it, I beg you not to let the girl hear you repeat it.
Oh, very well. Is that all?
No, sir. We shall have to be very particular with this girl as to personal cleanliness.
Yes, quite right. Most important.
I mean not to be untidy about her dress or leaving things about.
I completely agree. I intended to call your attention to that. It is these little things that matter, Pickering. From little acorns, mighty oaks do grow. Is as true of personal habits as it is of investing.
Yes, sir. Then may I ask you not to come down to breakfast in your dressing gown? Or at any rate, not to use it as a napkin to the extent you do. And it would be so great if you didn't eat everything off the same plate. And remember not to put the oatmeal saucepan on the clean tablecloth. It would be a better example for the girls, sir. You know, you nearly choked yourself with a fishbone in the jam only last week.
I may do these things sometimes in the absence of mind, but I surely I don't do them habitually. By the way, my dressing gown smells most damnably of bleach.
No doubt it does, Mr. Higgins. But if you will wipe your fingers on it,
Oh, very well. Very well. I'll wipe them in my hair in the future.
I hope you're not offended, Mr. Higgins.
Not at all. Not at all. You're quite right, Mrs. Pierce. I shall be particularly careful before the girl. Is that all?
No, sir. Might she use some of those Japanese dresses you brought from abroad? I really can't put her back in her old things.
Certainly, anything you like. Is that all?
Thank you, sir. That's all.
You know, Pickering, that woman has the most extraordinary ideas about me. Here I am, a shy, a diffident sort of man. I've never been able to feel really grown up and powerful like other men, and yet she's firmly persuaded that I'm an arbitrary, overbearing, bossing kind of person. I can't account for it.
If you please, sir, trouble's beginning already. There's a woman downstairs, Alfie Doolittle, wants to see you. She says you have her daughter here.
Oh,
Send the scoundrel up. Oh, send the scoundrel up.
Oh, very well, sir.
She may not be a scoundrel, Higgins.
Nonsense. Of course she's a scoundrel.
Well, whether she is or not, I'm afraid we shall have some trouble with her.
Oh, no, I think not. If there's any trouble, she shall have it with me. And we're sure to get something interesting out of her.
About the girl?
No, I mean her dialect.
Oh.
Doolittle, sir.
Professor Higgins?
Here, good morning. Sit down.
Morning. I come about a very serious matter, sir.
Brought up in Perth Amboy, mother Italian, I should think. What do you want, Doolittle?
I want my daughter. That's what I want. See?
Of course you do. You're her mother, aren't you? You don't suppose anyone else wants her, do you? Glad to see you have some spark of family feeling left. She's upstairs. Take her away at once.
What?
Take her away. Do you suppose I'm going to keep your daughter for you?
Now, look here, mister. Is this reasonable? Is it fair to take advantage of a lady like this? I mean, the girl is mine. You got her. Where do I come in?
Your daughter had the audacity to come to my house and ask me to teach her how to speak properly so she could get her place in a flower shop. This gentleman and my housekeeper have been here the whole time. How dare you come here and try to blackmail me? You sent her here on purpose.
No, sir.
You must have. How else could you have possibly known that she is here?
Oh, don't you wind a lady up like this.
The police shall wind you up. This is a plant, a ploy to extort money by threats. I shall telephone for the police.
Have I said a single thing about money? Have I asked you for a single penny? I leave it to this gentleman here.
What else did you
a word about money?
What else did you come for?
Well, what would a woman come for? Be human, mister.
Alfie, did you put her up to it?
Oh, so help me, sir. I never did. I swear to God, I ain't seen the girl these past few months.
Then how did you know she was here?
I'll tell you if you'll only let me get a word in. I'm willing to tell you. I'm wanting to tell you. I'm waiting to tell you.
Pickering, this woman has a certain natural gift of rhetoric. Observe the rhythm of her native musical tones. I'm willing to tell you. I'm wanting to tell you. I'm waiting to tell you. Sentimental rhetoric. That's the Italian in her. It also accounts for her mendacity and dishonesty.
Oh, please, Higgins. I'm part Italian myself.
Yeah.
How did you know the girl was here if you didn't send her?
Well, it was like this, sir. The girl took a boy in a taxi to give him a jaunt. Son of a landlady he is. He hung about on the chance of her giving him another ride home. Well, she sent him back for her luggage when she heard you was willing for her to stay here. I met the boy at the corner of Longacre and Mendel Street.
There's a bar there, yes?
The Poor Man's Club. Sir, why shouldn't I?
Just let her tell her story, Higgins.
He told me what was up, and I ask you, what was my feelings and my duty as a mother? I says to the boy, you bring me the luggage, I says.
Why didn't you go for it yourself?
Landlady wouldn't have trusted me with it? No, sir. She is that kind of woman, you know. I had to give the boy a penny before he trusted me with it, the little swine. I brought it to her just to oblige you and make myself agreeable. That's all.
How much luggage?
Musical instrument, a few pictures, a trifle of jewelry, and a birdcage. She said she didn't want any clothes. What was I to think of from that, sir? I ask you as a parent, what was I to think?
So, you came to rescue her from a fate worse than death, eh?
Yeah, mister. That's right.
But why did you bring her luggage if you intended to take her away?
Have I said a word about taking her away?
You're going to
Have
take
I
her
now?
away. You're going to take her away. Double quick.
No, sir, don't say that. I'm not a gal to stand in my girl's way. Here's a career opening for her, as you might say.
Mrs. Pierce, this
And-
is Eliza's mother. She has come to take her away. Hand her over.
No, this is a misunderstanding. Listen here.
You can't take her away, Mr. Higgins. You told me to burn her clothes.
That's right. I can't carry the girl through the streets naked as a jaybird, can I? I put it to you.
You have put it to me that you want your daughter. Take your daughter. She has no clothes. Go out and buy her some.
Where's the clothes she came in? Did you burn them? Or did your missus here?
I'm the housekeeper, if you please.
Hmm.
I have ordered some clothes for your girl. When they come, you can take her away. Meanwhile, you can wait in the kitchen.
Listen here, sir. You and me are men and women of the world, ain't we?
Oh, people of the world, are we?
Mhm.
You better go, Mrs. Pierce.
I think so, indeed, sir.
The floor is yours, Doolittle.
I thank you, sir. Well, sir, the truth is, I've taken a sort of fancy to you. And if you want the girl, I'm not so set on her having her back at home again. I mean, I might be open to a little arrangement. I mean, regarded in the light of a young woman, she's a fine, handsome girl. I'll tell you straight, as a daughter, she's not worth her keep. I can see you're the sort of a straight sort, and you're the last man alive to expect me to let her go for nothing. I mean, all I ask is my rights as a mother. Well, what's $20 to you? And what's Eliza to me?
I think you ought to know, Doolittle, that Mr. Higgins' intentions are entirely honorable.
Of course they are, sir. If I thought they weren't, I would have asked for 200.
Do you mean to say, you callous rascal, that you would sell your daughter for $200?
Not in a general way, I wouldn't, but I mean, to oblige a gentleman like you, I'd do a good deal, I assure you.
Have you no morals, woman?
Oh, can't afford them, sir. I mean, neither could you if you were as poor as I am. I mean, not that I mean any harm, but if Liza's gonna get a cut of this, I mean, why not me too?
I don't know what to do, Pickering. If there can be no question that as a matter of morals, it's a positive crime to give this lady a penny. Yet I feel a sort of rough justice in her claim.
I mean, that's it, sir. That's all I say. A mother's heart, if it were.
Well, I know the feeling. Really, it seems hardly right.
Oh, no. Don't say that, sir. Don't look at it that way. What am I to both of you? Right? What am I? I'm one of the undeserving poor. That's what I am. Think of what that means to a woman. Yeah, it means that she's up against middle-class morality all the time. If there's anything going and I put in for a bit of it, it's always the same story. You're undeserving, so you can't have it. But my needs are as great as the most deserving widow that ever got money out of 6 different charities in 1 week for the death of the same husband. I don't need less than a deserving woman. I need more. I don't eat less hearty than her, and I drink a lot more. I want a bit of amusement because I'm a thinking woman. I want cheerfulness and a song and a band when I feel low. They charge me just the same for everything as they charge the deserving. I mean, what is middle-class morality? Just an excuse for never giving me anything. Therefore, I ask you, as 2 gentlemen, not to play this game on me. I'm playing straight with you. I ain't pretending to be deserving. I'm undeserving. And I'm aiming to go on being undeserving. I like it. And that's the truth. Will you take advantage of a woman's nature to cheat her out of the price of her own daughter, which she brought up and fed and clothed by the sweat of her brow until she's grown big enough to be interested to you two gentlemen? I mean, is $20 unreasonable? I put it to you, and I leave it to you.
Pickering, if we were to take this woman in hand for 3 months, she could choose between a seat in the Senate, the popular church upstate.
What do you say to that, Doolittle?
Not me, sir. Thank you kindly. I've heard all the preachers and all the presidents, for I'm a thinking woman and game for politics or religion or social reform, same as all the other amusements. And I tell you, it's a dog's life any way you look at it. Undeserving poverty is my line. Taking one station in society with another, it's the only one with any spice in it to me.
I suppose we must give her a 20.
She'll make bad use of it, I'm afraid.
Oh, not me, mister. So help me, I won't. Don't you be afraid that I'll save it and spare it and live idle on it. There won't be a penny left on Monday. I'll have to go to work, same as if I'd never had it. It won't break my spirit, you bet. Just one good spree for me and me and the mister. Giving pleasure to others and employment. Giving pleasure to ourselves and employment to others, you know. And satisfaction to you to think it's not been thrown away. You couldn't spend it better.
This is irresistible. Let's give her 50.
Oh, no, sir. I wouldn't have the heart to spend 50, and perhaps I shouldn't neither. I mean, $50 is a lot of money. It makes a woman feel prudent-like. And then, you know, goodbye happiness. You give me what I ask for, sir. Not a penny more and not a penny less.
Why don't you marry that mister of yours? I'd rather draw the line at encouraging that sort of immorality.
You tell him so, sir. Tell him so. I'm willing. It's me that suffers by it. I've no hold on him. I gotta be agreeable to him. At least he buys me presents, buys me clothes, something sinful. But I'm a slave to that man, just because I'm not his lawful wife, and he knows it. Catch him marrying me. Take my advice, mister. Marry Eliza while she's young and don't know no better. If you don't, you'll be sorry for it after. If you do, she'll be sorry for it after. But better you than her, because you're a man, and she's only a woman and don't know how to be happy anyhow. Is that how it goes?
Pickering, if we listen to this woman another minute, we shall have no convictions left. $20, I think you said?
Oh, yeah. Thank you kindly, sir.
You're sure you won't take 50?
Oh, not now. Another time, sir.
Here you are.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. Oh, excuse me, miss.
Don't you know your own daughter?
Oh my God.
Oh my God, it's Eliza.
Oh, don't I look silly?
Silly.
Oh.
Now, Mr. Higgins, please don't say anything to make the girl conceited about herself.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, damn silly.
Please, sir.
Oh, I mean extremely silly.
Well, I should look all right with my headband on. I can't get it on.
It would be a new fashion. Should look horrible, but...
Oh, sure. I never thought she'd clean up as good looking as that. She's a credit to me, ain't she?
I tell you, it's easy to clean up here. Hot and cold water on tap, just as much as you like. There is woolly towels. There is soft brush to scrub yourself with, and a fancy bar of soap smelling like primroses. Oof. Now I know average ladies are so clean. Washing's a treat for them.
Well,
Wish you saw what it was for the likes of me.
I'm glad the bathroom met with your approval.
It didn't, not all of it. And I don't care who hears me say it. Mrs. Pierce knows.
What was wrong, Mrs. Pierce?
Oh, nothing, sir. Doesn't matter.
I had a good mind to break it. I didn't know which way to look, but I hung a towel over it, I did.
Over what?
The mirror, sir.
Doolittle, you have brought your daughter up too strictly.
Me? I never brought her up at all except to give her a little kick in the now and then. Don't put it on me. She ain't accustomed to it, you see? That's all. But she'll soon pick up on your free and easy ways.
I'm a good gal. I don't pick up no free and easy ways.
Eliza, if you say again that you are a good girl, your mother shall take you away.
Not her. You don't know my mother. All she come here for was to touch you for some money to get drunk on.
Well, what else would I want money for? To put into the plate at church, I suppose. Hey, don't give me none of your lip. And don't let me hear you giving this gentleman any of it neither. Or you'll have to hear about it from me, see?
Have you any further advice to give her before you go, Doolittle? Your blessing, for instance?
No, I ain't such a fool as to teach my kids all I know. Hard enough to keep a hold of them without that. If you want Eliza's minds improved, sir, you gotta do it yourself with a strap. So long, gentlemen.
Stop. You'll come regularly to see your daughter. It's your duty, you know. My brother is a priest. He could help you in your talks with her.
Oh, sure. I'll come. I mean, not this week because I have a job out of town, but later you can depend on me. Afternoon, gentlemen. Afternoon, ma'am.
Don't you believe the old liar? She'd rather you stick a bulldog on her than a priest. You won't see her again in a hurry.
I don't want to, Eliza. Do you?
Not me. I don't ever want to see her again. I don't. She's a disgrace to me, she is. Working. Instead of working, she's just collecting dust.
What is her profession, Eliza?
Talking money out of other people's pockets and her own. She has a real job. She's a bartender and works at it sometimes too. For exercise. And earns good money at it too. Hey, you gonna call me Miss Doolittle anymore?
I beg your pardon, Miss Doolittle. It was a slip of the tongue.
Oh, I don't mind. Only you sounded so genteel. I would like to take a taxi to the corner of Hoboken and get out there and tell her to wait for me, just to put the other gals in their place a bit. I want to talk to them, you know.
Better wait till we get you something really fashionable.
Besides, you shouldn't insult your friends now that you have risen in the world. That's what we call snobbery.
You don't call the like of them my friends now, I should hope. They took it out on me often enough when they had the chance. Now me to get my own back a little. But if I'm to have fashionable clothes, oh wait, I like to have them. Mrs. Pierce says you're going to give me something fancy to wear at night. I mean, it seems like a waste of money when you could just get something to show. Besides, I could never fancy changing into cold things on a winter night.
Now, Eliza, the new things have come for you to try on.
Oh!
Oh, don't go rushing about like that, girl.
Pickering, we have taken on a hell of a job.
Higgins, we have.
Henry, what are you doing here today? I have company coming over. You promised not to come.
Nonsense.
Go home immediately.
Well, I know you're having company, Mother. I came on purpose.
But you mustn't. I'm serious, Henry. You offend all my friends. They stop coming after they meet you.
Nonsense. I know I'm no great shakes at small talk, but people don't mind.
Oh, don't they? No great shakes at small talk indeed. What about your large talk? Really, dear? You can't stay.
I must. I've got a job for you. A phonetic job.
No good asking me, dear. I'm sorry, but I can't get around your vowels. And though I like to get pretty postcards in your new alphabet, I always have to read the extra copies in ordinary writing that you so thoughtfully send me.
This isn't a phonetic job.
You said it was.
Not your part of it. I've picked up a girl.
Does that mean that some girl has decided to pick you up?
What? No, not at all. I don't mean a relationship.
Oh, what a pity.
Why?
You never fall in love with anyone under 45. When will you realize that there are some rather nice-looking young women about?
Oh, I can't be bothered with young women. My idea of a lovable woman is someone as much like you as possible. Never get into the fashion of seriously liking young women. Some habits are just too deep to be changed. Besides, they're all idiots.
Do you know what you would do if you really loved me, Henry?
Get married, I suppose.
No. You'd stop fidgeting and take your hands out of your pockets. That's a good boy. Now tell me about the girl.
Well, she's coming to see you.
I don't remember asking her to.
You didn't. I asked her to come. If you'd have known her, you wouldn't have asked.
Oh, really? Why?
It's like this. She's a flower girl. I picked her off the curb at Midtown.
And invited her to my house?
Oh, it'll be all right. I've taught her to speak properly, and she has strict orders on how to behave. She has stayed on two subjects, the weather and everybody's health. Nice day and how do you do, not to let herself go on tangents. That'll be safe.
Safe? To talk about people's health? About our insides? Perhaps about our outsides? How could you be so silly, Henry?
Well, she has to talk about something. Should be fine. Don't fuss. Pickering is in it with me. We've got a sort of bet going on that I'll be able to pass her off as the Duchess in 3 months now. Started some months ago, and she's getting on like a house on fire. I will win my bet. It's a quick year. She's even easier to teach than my middle-class pupils because she has to learn a completely new language. She speaks English like you speak French.
That's fine, I suppose.
Well, it is and it isn't.
What does that mean?
You have to think not only of what I've got her pronunciations all correct, but you have to consider not only how she pronounces, but what she pronounces, and that's where things are.
And Miss Eynsford Hill.
Oh, you know what? Another time.
So good to see you.
So good to see you. Mother will be along in a second, I'm sure.
My son,
Yes.
Henry.
I do. Show. I am so sorry. It took me so long to get through the door. Oh, good gracious. It's so good to see you, Mrs. Higgins. You're famous, and this is your famous son, Professor Higgins. Oh, I have wanted to meet you for such a long time, Professor.
Delighted.
How do you do?
I've met you somewhere before, but I can't remember where, but I've heard your voice. Doesn't matter. You better sit down.
I'm sorry to say my celebrated son has no manners. You mustn't mind him.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that rude? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be.
Not at all.
Pickering.
How do you do, Mrs. Higgins?
So glad you've come. Do you know Mrs. Eynsford Hill? Miss Eynsford Hill?
Has Henry told you what we've come about?
No, we were interrupted. Damn it.
Henry, really?
Are we interrupting?
No, you couldn't have come at a better time. We'd like you to meet a friend of ours.
Yes, of course. We want 2 or 3 people. You'll do as well as anybody else.
Mr. Eynsford Hill.
And another one.
How to do?
Very good of you to come. Colonel Pickering.
How to do?
I don't think you know my son, Professor Higgins.
How to do?
I swear I've met you somewhere too. Where was it?
I haven't a clue.
Doesn't matter. Sit down. Well, here we are. What the hell are we going to talk about until Eliza comes?
Henry, you are no doubt the life and soul of the Yale Club soirees, but really, you're a bit too much for everyday get-togethers.
Sorry. Very sorry. I suppose I am,
I sympathize. I don't have any skill with small talk. If only people would be frank and say what they really think.
God forbid.
Why?
Well, what people think they should think is bad enough, Lord knows, but what they really think would be a complete mess. Do you believe it'd all be pleasant if I came out right now with what I really think?
Is it so very cynical?
Cynical? Who said it was cynical? It wouldn't be decent.
Oh, I'm sure you don't mean that, Professor Higgins.
We're all savages, more or less. We're supposed to be civilized and cultured, to know about poetry and philosophy and art and science and so on, but how many of us even know the meanings of those names? What do you know of poetry? What do you know of science? What does he know of art or poetry or science or anything else? What the hell do you suppose I know of philosophy?
Or of manners, Henry?
Miss Doolittle.
Oh, here she is, Mother.
How do you do, Mrs. Higgins? Mr. Higgins told me I might come.
Yes, of course. I'm very glad indeed to see you.
How do you do, Miss Doolittle?
Colonel Pickering, I presume?
I feel certain we've met before, Miss Doolittle. I remember your eyes.
How do you do?
My daughter Clara.
How do you do?
How do you do?
I've certainly had the pleasure before, miss.
My son Freddie.
How do you do?
Oh, of course, yes, it all comes back to me. Midtown, damn it all.
Henry, please. And don't sit on my writing table. You'll break it.
Sorry.
Will it rain, do you think?
Well, a depression to the west is likely to move in an easterly direction. There are no indications of any great change in the barometrical situation. What is wrong with that, young man? I bet I got it right.
That's amazing.
I just hope it won't turn cold. The flu is particularly bad this year. It runs right through our whole family every spring.
My aunt died from the flu, so they say.
Oh.
But I believe they did the old woman in.
Did her in?
Yes, of course. Why would she die of influenza? She just survived a bout of whooping cough just a year before. I saw her with my own eyes. Almost blue with it she was. They all thought she was dead, but my mother kept pouring hot toddies down her throat till she came to so suddenly she snapped the bowl right out of the spoon.
Dear me.
Oh, how could a woman with that much strength in her die from influenza? What became of her new straw hat that should have been mine in the inheritance? Somebody stole it. And what I say is, whoever stole it did her in.
What does did her in mean?
The new slang. To do a person in means to, kill them.
You can't believe your aunt was murdered?
Oh, of course. The people she lived with would have killed her for a hatpin, let alone a hat.
But it can't have been right for your mother to pour spirits down her throat like that. It might have killed her.
Oh, not her. Whiskey was mother's milk to her. Besides, she'd poured so much down her own throat, she knew it was safe.
Oh, do you mean she drank?
Oh, drink! My word! Something chronic.
Oh, awful for you.
Oh, not a bit. It never did her any harm that I could see, but then she didn't keep it up all the time. You know, she'd fall into it from time to time, and she was always a great deal friendlier when she had a drink or two in her. When she was out of work, my uncle used to give her $2 and tell her to go out and not come back until she'd drunk herself cheerful and loving-like. There's lots of people who have to be drunk to be bearable. You see, it's like this. If you've got a bit of a conscience, it weighs on you when you're sober. A drop of booze just takes that off and makes you happy. What are you snickering at?
The new small talk. You do it so well.
If I was doing it correctly, what are you laughing at? Have I said anything I shouldn't have?
Not at all, Miss Doolittle.
Well, anyhow, what I always say is... Well, I must go. So pleased to have met you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Colonel Pickering.
Goodbye, Miss Doolittle.
Goodbye, all.
Are you walking across the park, Miss Doolittle? If so, I'd be delighted.
Walk? Not goddamn likely. I'm going home in a taxi.
I really can't get used to that kind of talk.
Oh, it's cool, Mama. People think we never go anywhere or see anybody if you're such a stick in the mud.
I guess I am somewhat old-fashioned, but I hope you won't get quite that cavalier, Clara. I've grown accustomed to hearing you talk about men as bastards and calling everything boss and out of sight. So I think it's beneath us. But this is really just too much. Don't you think so, Mr. Pickering?
Don't ask me. I've been away in Kuwait for several years, and manners have changed so much that I sometimes don't know whether I'm at a respectable dinner table or in a ship's galley.
It's all a matter of habit. There's no right or wrong in it. Nobody means anything by it, and it's so nifty. It gives a punch to things that are not themselves very witty. I find the new lingo delightful.
Well, after that, I think it's time to go.
Oh yes, we have 3 other get-togethers this afternoon. Goodbye, Mrs. Higgins. Goodbye, Colonel Pickering. Goodbye, Professor Higgins.
Goodbye. Be sure to try out that new small talk at the other get-togethers. Don't be nervous about it. Really lean into it.
I will. Goodbye. Such nonsense, all these bourgeois ideals.
Such damned nonsense.
Such goddamn nonsense.
Clara!
Really? Goodbye.
Goodbye. Would you like to meet Miss Doolittle again?
Oh, yes, I would, definitely.
Will you have my number?
Yes. Thanks so much. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Higgins.
Oh, goodbye. Goodbye.
It's no use. I'll never be able to bring myself to use that word.
Don't. It's not mandatory, you know. You'll get on quite well without it.
Only Clara's so down on me if I'm not positively freaking with the latest slang. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh, Mrs. Higgins, please forgive Clara. We're so poor. And she gets so few invitations to parties, poor girl. She doesn't quite understand. But Freddie's nice, don't you think?
Oh, very nice. I'll always be delighted to see him.
Thank you, my dear. Goodbye.
Well, is Eliza presentable?
You silly boy. Of course she's not presentable. She's a triumph of your art and of her dressmakers. But if you suppose for a moment that she doesn't give herself away in every sentence she utters, you must be out of your mind.
But don't you think something might be done? Something to sound out the coarser elements from her conversation?
Not as long as she is in Henry's hands.
Do you mean that my language is improper?
Oh, dearest! It would be quite proper, say, from a sailor, but it would not be proper for her at a dinner party.
Well, I have to say...
Come, Higgins. You have to know yourself. I haven't heard language like yours since my army days.
Well, if you say so. I suppose I don't always talk like a bishop.
Mr. Pickering, please tell me, what is the exact state of things on Canal Street?
Well, I've come to live there with Henry. We work together with my Kuwaiti dialects, and we think it more convenient.
Yes, I know all about that. It's an excellent idea. But where does the girl live?
With us, of course. Where else would she live?
But on what terms? Is she working for you? If not, why is she living in your house?
I think I know what you mean, Mrs. Higgins.
I'll be damned if I do. I've had to work for that girl every day for months to get her to the present point. Besides, she's useful. She knows where my things are, remembers my appointments and so on.
How does Mrs. Pierce get on with her?
Mrs. Pierce? She's glad to get me taken off her hands. Before Eliza came, she had to find my things and remind me of my appointments. Well, she does have some weird obsession about Eliza. She keeps saying, "You don't think, sir," doesn't she, Pick?
Yes, that's the formula. You don't think, sir. It's the end of every conversation about Eliza.
If I ever stop thinking about her and her damn vowels and consonants. I'm worn out thinking about her and watching her lips and her teeth and her tongue. Not to mention her soul, which is the most interesting of the lot.
You certainly make a fine pair playing with your living doll.
Playing? This is the hardest job I've ever taken. Make no mistake about that, Mother. But you have no idea how fascinating it is to take a human being and change her into a completely different human being by creating a new speech for her. It's filling up the deepest gulf that separates class from class and soul from soul.
Yes, it's truly interesting. I assure you, Mrs. Higgins, we take Eliza very seriously. Every week, every day almost, there is some new change. We keep records of every stage. Dozens of recordings, photographs.
Yes, it's the most absorbing experiment I've ever tried. She regularly fills up our lives, doesn't she, Pick?
We're always talking Eliza,
Teaching Eliza.
dressing Eliza.
What?
New Elizas.
I assure you, my dear Mrs.
No.
Higgins, that girl
Yes,
is a
it's
genius.
extraordinary
She can
criticism.
play the piano quite beautifully.
I've tried her with
We've
every
taken her to classical concerts and do jazz clubs. It's all the same to her.
dialects, African
Everything
dialects.
she hears right off when she comes home, whether it's Beethoven and Brahms or Bach and Coltrane.
Shot right away.
Months ago, she never even touched
Oh,
the
my.
piano.
Enough.
I beg your pardon.
Sorry, when Pickering gets started, nobody can get a word in edgewise.
Be quiet, Henry. Colonel Pickering, don't you realize that when Eliza walked into Canal Street, something walked in with her?
Well, her mother did, but Henry soon got rid of her.
It would have been more to the point if her mother had, but as her mother didn't, something else did.
What?
A problem.
Oh, I see. The problem of passing her off as a lady.
Well, I'll solve that problem. I've halfway solved it already.
No, you two infinitely stupid male creatures. The problem of what is to be done with her afterwards.
I don't see anything in that. She can go her own way with all the advantages that I have given her.
The advantages of that poor woman who was here just now. The manners and habits that disqualify a fine lady from earning her own living without giving her a fine lady's income. Is that what you mean?
Oh, that will be all right, Mrs. Higgins.
We'll find her some light employment.
She's happy enough. Don't you worry about her. Goodbye.
Anyhow, there's no good bothering now. The thing's done.
There are plenty of openings. We'll do what's right. Goodbye.
Let's take her to the Shakespeare exhibition in Central Park.
Oh, yes, let's. Her remarks will be delicious.
She'll mimic all the people for us when we get home.
Fantastic.
Oh, men! Men! Men!
My pick. Lock up, will you? I won't be going out again.
Right. Can Mrs. Pierce go to bed? We don't want anything else, do we?
Oh, God, no.
I say, Mrs. Pierce will throw a fit if we leave these things lying about in the laboratory.
Oh, chuck them in the hall. She'll find them in the morning and put them away. She'll think we were drunk.
We are, slightly. Is there any mail?
Oh, I didn't look. Ugh. Wonder where the hell my slippers are. Ugh.
Only some advertisements and something marked urgent for you.
Oh, just a bill. Lord, what an evening! What a crew! What a silly mess! Oh, that's where they are they?
Well, I'm knackered. It's been a long day. Cocktail hour, the dinner party, the opera. Too much of a good thing, all told. You've won your bet, Higgins. Eliza did the trick and then some, eh?
Oh, thank God it's over.
Were you nervous at the party? I was. Eliza didn't seem nervous at all.
No, she wasn't nervous. I knew she'd be fine. Now, it's the strain of working this job all these months that's worn on me. It was interesting enough at first when we were on the phonetics. After that, I got sick of it. There wasn't money on the deal. I should have abandoned the whole thing 2 months ago. Silly notion. The whole thing has been a bore.
Oh, come now. The cocktail hour was frightfully exciting. My heart was beating like I was back in Kuwait.
Certainly for the first 3 minutes. But then I saw we were going to win, hands down. I felt like a bear in a cage, hanging about doing nothing. The dinner was worse. Sitting there for over an hour with nobody but a damn fool of a fashionable woman to talk to. I tell you, Pickering, never again. No more artificial duchesses. The whole thing has been purgatory.
You've never really been broken into the social routine. I enjoy dipping a toe into it occasionally myself. Reminds me of my boarding school days. Anyhow, it was a great success. No, an immense success. I was worried once or twice because Eliza was doing too well. You see, lots of real people can't really behave at all. They're such twits that they think style comes by nature to people like them. So they never bother to learn. And there's always something a little suspicious about doing a thing superlatively well.
That's what really drives me mad. The silly people don't know their own silly rules. However, it's over now, and now I can go to bed at last without dreading tomorrow.
I think I'll turn into. Still, it's been a great occasion. A triumph for you.
Good night. Put out the lights, Eliza, and tell Mrs. Pierce not to make coffee in the morning. I'll take tea. What have I done with my slippers?
Here's your slipper, and here, take your slippers, and I hope you choke on them.
What's wrong? What's the matter?
Nothing's wrong with you. I've won your bet for you, haven't I? That's enough for you. I don't matter, I suppose.
You won my bet, you presumptuous insect. I won it. What did you throw those slippers at me for?
Because I wanted to smash your face in your... I like to kill you, selfish brute! Why didn't you leave me where you found me? In the gutter? You thank God it's all over now, and now you can throw me back in there, huh?
The creature is nervous after all. Huh. Ah, claws in, you cat! How dare you show your temper to me? Sit down and be quiet.
What's to become of me? What's to become of me?
How the devil do I know what's to become of you? What does it matter what becomes of you?
You don't care. I know you don't care. You wouldn't care if I was dead. I'm nothing to you, not as much as them slippers.
Those slippers.
Those slippers. I didn't give me any difference now.
Why have you started going on like this? Do you have any complaints about your treatment here?
No.
Has anyone behaved badly to you? Colonel Pickering, Mrs. Pierce, any of the staff?
No.
You don't pretend that I have treated you badly.
No.
Glad to hear it. Perhaps you're tired after the strain of the day. Will you have a glass of champagne?
No! Thank you.
This has been coming for some time. I suppose it was only natural for you to be anxious about the dinner party, but that's all over now. There's nothing more to worry about.
No. Nothing more for you to worry about. Oh my God, I wish I was dead.
Why? For God's sake, why? Listen to me, Eliza. All this irritation is purely subjective.
I don't understand. I'm too ignorant.
It's on your head. You're just feeling the strain of it. Nobody's hurting you. Nothing's wrong. You go to bed like a good girl and sleep it off. Have a little cry and say your prayers. That will make you feel better.
Oh, I heard your prayers. Thank God it's all over.
Well, don't you thank God it's all over? Now you're free and can do what you like.
What am I good for? What have you made me into? Where am I to go? What am I to do? What's to become of me?
Oh, that's what's worrying you, is it? I wouldn't worry about it if I were you. Imagine you would have much difficulty in settling yourself, somewhere or other. Well, I hadn't realized you were going away. You could get married, you know. You see, Eliza, not all men are confirmed old bachelors like me and the Colonel. Most men are the marrying sort, poor fools. And you're not bad looking. It's quite a pleasure to look at you sometimes. I mean, not now, of course, because you're all worked up and your mascara is running. But when you're quite yourself, you're what I would call attractive. That is to people in the marrying line, you understand. You just go to bed and have a good night's rest. And then get up and look at yourself in the mirror and you won't feel so cheap. But my mother could find some man or other who would be happy to marry you.
We were above that, down at the shore.
What do you mean?
I sold flowers. I didn't sell myself, but now you've made a lady of me. I'm not fit to sell anything else. I wish you'd just left me where you found me.
What the nonsense, Eliza, don't insult human relations by dragging all this talk of buying and selling into it. You wouldn't marry the fellow if you don't like him.
What else could I do?
Lots of things. What about your idea of a florist's? Pickering could set you up in one. He's got loads of money. He'll have to pay for all those clothes you've been wearing today, and with the rented jewels will cost the better part of $1,000. 6 months ago, you would have thought a dream come true to have a flower shop of your own. Come, you'll be all right. I really have to go to bed. I'm far too sleepy. Before I go, I came down for something. I forget what it was.
Your slippers.
Oh, yes, of course. You chucked them at me. Huh.
Before you go, sir,
Eh?
do my clothes belong to me or to Colonel Pickering?
What use would they be to Colonel Pickering?
You might want them for the next girl you pick up and decide to experiment on.
Is that the way you feel about us?
I don't want to hear anything more about that. All I want to know is whether anything belongs to me. My own clothes were burnt.
Why does it matter? Why do you need to start bothering about that in the middle of the night?
I want to know what I may take away with me. I don't want to be accused of stealing.
Stealing? You shouldn't have said that, Eliza. That shows a lack of feeling.
I'm sorry. I'm just a common, ignorant girl. And in my station, I have to be careful. There can't be any feelings between the likes of you and the likes of me. Will you please tell me what belongs to me and what doesn't?
But you may take the whole damn house if you like, except the jewels. They're rented. Will that satisfy you? Ah.
Stop, please. Will you take these to your room and keep them safe? I don't want to run the risk of them going missing.
Hand them over. If these belonged to me instead of the jeweler, I'd ram them down your ungrateful throat. Oh.
This ring isn't the jeweler's. It's the one you gave me on Coney Island. I don't want it now.
Oh,
don't you hit me!
Hit you? You cow! How dare you accuse me of... You're the one who has hit me! You have cut me to the core.
I'm glad. I've gotten back at you a little anyhow.
You've made me lose my temper. That hardly ever happens to me. I'd like to say nothing else tonight. I am going to bed.
You'd better leave Mrs. Pierce a note about the coffee, because I certainly won't tell her.
Damn Mrs. Pierce, damn the coffee, damn you, and damn my own idiocy in lavishing my hard-earned knowledge and the treasure of my attention and intimacy on a cold-hearted gutter girl.
Mr. Henry, ma'am, is downstairs with Colonel Pickering.
We'll show them up.
They're using the telephone, ma'am, calling the police, I think.
What?
Mr. Henry's in one of his moods, ma'am. I thought I should tell you.
Oh, if you told me that Henry was not in one of his moods, that would have been more surprising. Tell them to come up when they finish with the police. I suppose he's lost something.
Yes, ma'am.
Then call upstairs and tell Miss Doolittle that Henry and the Colonel are here. But ask her not to come down until I send for her.
Yes, ma'am.
Ugh. Look here, Mother, here's a damn mess of a thing.
Yes, dear. Good morning. What is it?
Liza's run off.
Oh, you must have frightened her.
Frightened her? Nonsense. Last night she was left alone, as usual, to turn out the lights and so on. Instead of going to bed, she changed her clothes and ran off. She came back in for a cab for her things before 7 this morning, and that fool Mrs. Pierce let her have them without telling me anything about it. What am I to do?
I'm afraid you'll have to do without, Henry. The girl has a right to leave if she chooses.
But I can't find anything. I don't know where my appointments are.
Good morning, Mrs. Higgins. Has Henry told you?
What did that ass of a detective say? Did you offer a reward?
You don't mean you sent the police after Eliza?
Of course. What else are police for? What else could we do?
The detective wasn't very helpful. I think he suspected us of some sort of sinister purpose.
Well, of course he did. What right do you have to go to the police and give the girl's name as if she were a thief or a missing umbrella or something? Really?
But we want to find her.
We can't let things end like this, you know, Mrs. Higgins. What else were we to do?
You have no more sense, either of you, than children. Why in the world would you think this was an appropriate course of action for Eliza running off? Do you have any idea of the trouble that you could be causing for her right now?
Oh,
How dare you?
Miss Henry, a lady wants to see you very urgently. She's been sent over from Canal Street.
Oh, I can't see anyone now. Who is it?
Mrs. Doolittle, sir.
Doolittle? Do you mean the bar woman?
Oh, no, sir. She's a lady.
Oh, Pick! It's some relative of hers that she's run off to. Something we know nothing about. Send her up, quickly.
Yes, sir.
Secret genteel relatives. Now we'll get to the bottom of this.
Do you know any of her family?
Only her mother, the woman we told you about.
Mrs. Doolittle.
Do you see this? You did this.
Did what, woman?
This? Look at it. Look at this hat. Look at this coat.
Has Eliza been buying you clothes?
Eliza? No. Why would she buy me clothes?
Good morning, Mrs. Doolittle. Won't you sit down?
Oh, sorry, ma'am. Thank you. I am just so overwhelmed by what has happened to me that I can't think of anything else.
What the heck has happened to you?
Well, I wouldn't mind if it had only happened to me. Anything might happen to anybody, and it's nobody's fault but fate's, you know? But this is something that you did to me, Henry Higgins.
I did. Have you found Eliza? That's the point.
Have you lost her?
Yes.
Oh, you have all the luck you do. I ain't found her, but she'll find me quick enough after what you did to me.
But what has he done to you, Mrs. Doolittle?
He's ruined me, destroyed my happiness, tied me up and delivered me into the hands of middle-class morality.
You're raving. You're drunk. You're mad. I gave you $20. After that, I had 2 conversations with you and had to pay for the privilege. I've never seen you since.
Oh, drunk am I? Mad am I? Tell me this. Did you or did you not write a letter to an old guy in England that was given millions to start a moral reform program spanning the world? And he wanted you to invent a universal language for him?
What? Ezra D. Wannafeller? He's dead.
Yes, he's dead. And I'm done for. Now, did you or did you not write a letter to him to say that the most original moral theorist present in America, to the best of your knowledge, is Alfreda Doolittle, a common bar woman?
Well, after your last visit, I remember making some silly joke of that kind, yes.
Oh, you can call it a silly joke. It put the lid on me right enough. Yeah. Gave him the chance he wanted to show that the English are embracing change like us, that they recognize and respect merit in every class of life, however humble. Those words are in his freaking will, in which Henry Higgins, thanks to your silly jokes, he left me a share of his pre-digested cheese trust worth $55,000 a year, on the condition that I lecture for the Wannafeller International Moral Program as often as he asks me, at least up to 6 times a year.
The hell he did. Whew. That's amazing.
Safe thing for you, Doolittle. They won't ask you twice.
Oh, it ain't the lecturing I mind. I'll lecture them blue in the face. It's making a respectable woman of me that I object to. Who asked him to make a respectable woman of me? I was happy. I was free. I asked anybody for money whenever I wanted it, same as I asked you, Henry Higgins. Now I'm worried, tied by my neck and my heels, and everybody asks me for money. It's a fine thing for you, my lawyer says. Is it, I say? You mean it's a good thing for you. When I was a poor woman and had a lawyer once, he got me off and got rid of me as quickly as he could. Yeah, same as the doctors. With nothing to pay, they used to shove me out of the hospital before I could barely stand on my legs. Now they find out that I'm not a healthy woman and can't live unless they look after me twice a day. In the house, I can't do a single thing for myself. Somebody else has to do it, and I gotta pay them. A year ago, I didn't have a relative in the world except 2 or 3 that wouldn't even talk to me. Now, I've got 50, and not a decent week's pay for any of them. I've got to live for others and not for myself. That's middle-class morality. Yeah, you talk of losing Eliza. Don't you worry. I bet she's on my doorstep now. She could support herself easily from selling flowers if I weren't respectable. And now I'll have to pay you, Henry Higgins. I'll have to learn to speak middle-class language from you instead of speaking like I like. And I bet that's why you did it.
But my dear Mrs. Doolittle, you need not suffer all this if you don't want to. Nobody can force you to accept this. You can refuse it. Isn't that right, Colonel Pickering?
I believe so.
Well, you see, now that's the tragedy of it, ma'am. It's easy to say chuck it, but I haven't the nerve. Which one of us does? I mean, we're all intimidated. Cowards, ma'am. That's what we are. What is there for me if I chuck it but working into my old age? I mean, I already have to dye my hair to keep my job as a bar woman. If I was one of the undeserving, if I was one of the deserving poor and had saved up a bit, I could chuck it. But then why should I? The deserving poor might be, as well be millionaires for the happiness they ever had. They don't don't know what happiness is. But I, as one of the undeserving poor, have nothing between me and a box on the street but this here damn $50,000 a year that shoves me into the middle class. Now, excuse my swearing, ma'am. I mean, you'd use it too if you were in my spot. They've got you everywhere you turn. It's like, it's a choice between the skilly of the streets and the chabitis of the middle class. And I haven't the nerve for begging. Intimidated, ma'am. That's what I am. Broke. Bought up. Happier women than me will serve my drinks and ask me for their tip. And I'll look on helpless and envy them. And that's what your son has done to me.
Well, I'm glad you aren't going to do anything foolish, Mrs. Doolittle. At least this solves the problem of Eliza's future. You can provide for her now.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I get to provide for everyone now out of $50,000 a year.
Nonsense. She can't provide for her. She won't provide for her. Eliza doesn't belong to her. I paid $20 for the girl. Doolittle, either you're an honest woman or you're a cheat.
A little of both, Henry. A little of both.
Well, you took the money for the girl. You have no right to take her as well.
Henry, don't be absurd. If you really want to know where Eliza is, she's upstairs.
Upstairs? Then I will soon drag her downstairs.
Sit down, Henry, and be quiet.
But
be quiet, dear, and listen to me.
Oh, very well. Very well. Very well. Though I think you should have told me this half an hour ago.
Eliza came this morning. She passed the night walking about the streets in a rage, partly trying to throw herself into the river and being afraid to, and partly at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. She told me of the brutal way you two treated her.
What?
My dear Mrs. Higgins, she's been telling you stories. We didn't treat her brutally. We barely said a word to her and parted on good terms. Higgins, did you bully her after I went to bed?
Just the opposite. She threw my slippers in my face. She behaved in an outrageous way, but I never gave her the slightest provocation. The slippers came straight into my face the moment I entered the room, or I had uttered a word, and she used terrible language.
Why? What did we do to her?
I think I know pretty well what you did. The girl is naturally rather sensitive. Isn't she, Mrs. Doolittle?
Oh, very tender-hearted, ma'am. She takes after me.
Just so. She had become attached to you both. She worked very hard for you, Henry. I don't think you quite realize what anything in the nature of real mental effort means to a girl like that. Then, when the great day came, and she did this wonderful thing for you without making a single mistake, you two sat there and never said a word to her, but talked of how glad you were that it was all over and how bored you had been with the whole thing. And you were surprised that she threw your slippers at you? I would have thrown the fire poker at you.
We said nothing except that we were tired and wanted to go to bed. Didn't we, Pick?
That was all.
Quite sure?
Absolutely. Really, that was all.
You didn't thank her, or admire her, or tell her how splendid she'd been.
But she knew all that. We didn't make speeches for her, if that's what you mean.
We were, perhaps, a little inconsiderate. Is she very angry?
Well, I fear she won't go back to Canal Street, especially now that Mrs. Doolittle is in the position you have thrust on her. But she says she is willing to meet you on friendly terms and to let bygones be bygones.
Is she? My God, ha!
If you promise to behave yourself, Henry, I'll ask her to come down. If not, go home. You've taken up quite enough of my time already.
Oh, all right. Very well. Pick, you behave yourself. Let us put on our best Sunday manners for this girl that we picked out of the mud.
Have some consideration for my feelings as a middle-class woman?
Remember your promise, Henry. Mrs. Doolittle, will you step out onto the balcony for a moment? I don't want Eliza to have the shock of what's happened to you until she is made up with these two gentlemen. Do you mind?
As you wish, ma'am. anything to help Henry keep her off my hands.
Ask Miss Doolittle to come down, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Henry, be good.
I am behaving myself perfectly.
He's doing his best, Mrs. Higgins.
Henry, dear, you'd look nicer if you stopped sulking.
I wasn't trying to look nice, Mother.
No matter, dear. I just wanted to get you talking.
Why?
Because you can't talk and hum at the same time.
Where the hell is that girl? We're gonna have to wait here all day.
How do you do, Professor Higgins? Are you feeling well?
Am I?
Oh, but of course you are. You are never ill. So glad to see you again, Colonel Pickering. Quite chilly this morning, isn't it?
Don't you dare try this act on me. I taught it to you, and it doesn't fool me. Get up, come home, and don't be a fool.
Very nicely put, Henry. No woman could refuse such an invitation.
You stay out of this, Mother. Let her speak for herself. You will damn well see whether she has an idea that I haven't put into her head, or a word I haven't put into her mouth.
Yes,
I created
dear.
this thing
But
out
won't
of
you
discarded pieces of Midtown, discarded newspapers of Midtown, and now she pretends to play the fine lady with me.
Yes, dear, but please calm down.
Will you abandon me completely now that the experiment is over, Colonel Pickering?
Oh, don't. You mustn't think of it as an experiment. That upsets me.
Oh, but I'm only discarded newspaper.
No.
But I owe so much to you that I would be heartbroken if you forgot me.
It's very kind of you to say so, Miss Doolittle.
It's not because you paid for my dresses. I know you're generous to everybody, but it was you who truly taught me good manners. And what makes a lady, isn't it? It was so very difficult for me with the example of Professor Higgins to learn from. I was raised to be just like him, unable to control myself, using bad language on the slightest provocation. And I never would have known that ladies and gentlemen didn't behave like that if you hadn't been there.
Well.
Oh, that's just how he is, you know. He doesn't mean it.
Oh, I didn't mean it either. When I was a flower girl, it was just how I was, but that's what makes a difference, after all.
No doubt. Still, he taught you how to speak. I couldn't do that.
Of course. That is his profession.
Damnation.
It was like learning to dance in the fashionable way. There was nothing more to it than that. But do you know what began my real education?
What?
You calling me Miss Doolittle that first day I came to Canal Street. That was the beginning of self-respect for me. And there were 100 little things you'd never notice because they came so naturally to you, like standing up and taking off your hat and opening doors and...
That was nothing.
They were things that showed you thought and felt about me as if I were something better than a beggar. Though, of course, I know you would have been just the same to a beggar if she had been let into the dining room. You never kicked off your boots in the dining room when I was there.
Don't mind that. Higgins takes off his boots all over the place.
I know. I'm not blaming him. It's just how he is. But it made such a difference to me that you didn't. You see, really and truly, apart from the things that anyone could learn, the dressing, the proper way of speaking, and so on, the difference between a lady and a flower girl is not how she behaves, it's how she's treated. I'll always be a flower girl to Professor Higgins because he's always treated me as a flower girl and always will. But I know I can be a lady to you because you always treated me as a lady and always will.
Please don't grind your teeth, Henry.
Well, this is really very nice of you, Miss Doolittle.
I'd like you to call me Eliza from now on, if you like.
Thank you, Eliza. Of course.
And I'd like Professor Higgins to call me Miss Doolittle.
I'll see you in hell first.
Henry! Henry!
Why don't you sling back at him, huh? Don't stand it. We do him a lot of good.
I can't. I could have done it once, but now I can't go back to it. Last night I was wandering about, and a girl spoke to me, and I tried to get back into the old ways with her, but it was of no use. You told me that when a child is brought to a foreign country, it picks up the language in a few weeks and forgets its own. Well, I am a child in your country, and I've forgotten my own language and can speak nothing but yours. That's a real break-off with the street corners of Newark. Leaving Canal Street finishes it.
Oh, but you're coming back to Canal Street, aren't you? You'll forgive Higgins?
Forgive? Will she, by God? Let her go. Let her find out how she can get on without us. She will lapse to the gutter in 3 weeks without me at her elbow.
He's incorrigible, Eliza. You won't relapse, will you?
Oh, no, not now, never again. I have learned my lesson. I don't believe I could utter one of the old words if I tried.
Ha ha! Just so. Oh, victory! Victory!
Oh, can you blame her? I mean, what are you looking at, Eliza? It ain't my fault I came in some money.
Oh, did you get money from a millionaire this time, Mom?
Sure did. But I'm dressed something special for today. I'm going to Grace Church on Broadway. Your stepfather is going to marry me.
You're going to let yourself down to marry that low bastard?
She ought to, Eliza. Why has he changed his mind?
Intimidated, sir. Intimidated. Middle-class morality claims its latest victim. Will you put your hat on, Liza, and come see me married off?
Well, if the colonel says I must, I'll demean myself and get insulted for my efforts, probably.
Oh, don't be afraid. He doesn't swear at anyone now, poor man. Respectability broke all the spirit out of him.
Be kind to them, Eliza. Make the best of it.
Oh, well, to show there's no ill feeling, I'll be back in a moment.
Well, I feel pretty nervous about the ceremony, Colonel. I wish you'd come see me through it.
You've been through it before, ma'am. You were married to Eliza's father.
Who told you that, Colonel?
Well, nobody told me, but I concluded naturally.
Oh, no, that ain't the natural way. It's only the middle-class way. My way was always the undeserving way. But don't say nothing to Eliza. She don't know. I always avoided telling her.
Quite right. We'll leave it, as you ask.
And you'll come to the church, Colonel, and put me through straight.
With pleasure. As far as a bachelor can.
May I come, Mrs. Doolittle? I'd be very sorry to miss your wedding.
Well, I'd indeed be honored by your presence, ma'am. And my poor old man would take it as a tremendous compliment. He's been very low thinking of the happy days that are no more.
I'll have the car brought around and get ready. I won't be more than 15 minutes. I'm going to the church to see your mother married, Eliza. You had better come in the Rolls Royce with me. Colonel Pickering can go on ahead with the bride-to-be.
Oh, bride. What a word. Oh, it makes a woman realize her position somehow.
Before I go, Eliza, do forgive him and come back to us.
I don't think Mama would allow me. Would you, Mama?
Well, you know, they played you very cunningly, Eliza. Them two sportsmen. Now, if it had been only one of them, you could have nailed him. But you see, there was two. And the one chaperoned the other, you might say. It was artfully done, Colonel. But I bear no ill will. I should have done the same myself. I've been a victim of one man after another my entire life. And I don't grudge you two getting the better of Eliza. I won't interfere. It's time for us to go, Colonel. So long, Henry. See you at Grace Church, Eliza.
Do stay with us, Eliza.
Well, Eliza, You gotten back at me, as you say. Was it enough? You going to be reasonable, or do you want more?
You only want me back to fetch your slippers, put up with your tempers, and scurry around for you.
I didn't say I want you at all.
Oh, really? Then what are we talking about?
You, not me. If you come back, I'll treat you just like I have always treated you. I can't change my nature, and I don't plan to change my manners. My manners are exactly the same as Colonel Pickering's.
Oh, that's not true. He treats a flower girl as if she were a duchess.
And I treat a duchess as if she was a flower girl.
I see. The same to everybody.
Exactly.
Like Mother.
I don't accept the comparison on all points, Eliza, but it's quite true that your mother is not a snob, and she'd be quite at home in any station in life her eccentric destiny calls her. The great secret, Eliza, is not to have good manners or bad manners, but to have, or any other particular sort of manners, but to have the same manner for all human souls. In short, behaving as if you were in heaven, and there are no classes, and one soul is as good as another.
Amen. You are a born preacher.
Look, the question is not whether I treated you rudely. It's whether you ever heard me treat anyone better.
I don't care how you treat me. I don't care you swearing at me. I don't care about a black eye. I've had one before. But I won't be passed over.
Well, then get out of my way. I won't stop for you. Talk about me as if I were a bus.
Oh, you are a bus. I'll get up and go with no consideration for anyone. But I can do without you. Don't think I can't.
Of course you can. I told you could.
I know you did, you ass. You wanted to get rid of me.
Liar.
Thank you.
You never asked yourself, I guess, if I could do without you.
Don't try to convince me. You'll have to do without me.
I can do without anybody. I have my own soul, my own spark of divine fire. But I will miss you, Eliza. I have learned something from your idiotic notions. I admit that, humbly and gratefully. And I've grown accustomed to your voice and appearance. I like them, rather.
Well, you have them both. On your records and in your book of photographs. When you feel lonely, you can turn the machine on. It has no feelings to hurt.
You can't turn your soul on. Leave me those feelings and take the voice. You can take away the voice and the face. They are not you.
Oh, you are a devil. You can twist a girl's heart as easy as anyone can twist her arm. Mrs. Pierce warned me about you time and again. She wanted to leave you, and you always convinced her at the last second. But you don't care for her, and you don't care for me.
I care about humanity. I care about life. You are a part of humanity that has come my way, and I have accepted into my house. What more can you or anyone ask?
I won't care for anybody that doesn't care for me.
Commercial principles, Eliza, like selling violets, isn't it?
Don't sneer at me. It means to sneer at me.
I have never sneered at anyone in my life. Sneering doesn't become the human face or the human soul. I am expressing my righteous contempt for commercialism. I don't and won't trade in affection. You called me an ass because you couldn't buy a claim on me by fetching my slippers and my spectacles. You were a fool. I think a woman fetching a man's slippers is a disgusting sight. I think a good deal more of you for throwing them in my face. No use slaving for me and saying you want to be cared for. If you come back for the sake of companionship. You've gotten 1,000 times more out of me as I have out of you. And if you dare to set up your dog's tricks of fetching and carrying slippers against my creation of a Duchess Eliza, I'll slam the door in your silly face.
Why did you do it, if you didn't care for me?
Because it was my job.
And you didn't think of the trouble it would cause me?
Would the world ever have been made if its maker had been afraid of making trouble? Making life means making trouble. The only way of escaping trouble is killing things. Cowards, you notice, are always screaming to have troublesome people killed.
I'm not a preacher. I don't notice things like that. I notice that you don't notice me.
Eliza, you're an idiot. I waste the treasures of my mind spreading them before you. Once and for all, understand that I go my own way and do my work without caring a penny what happens to anyone. I am not intimidated like your mother and your stepfather. So you can come back or go to hell, whichever you prefer.
Why should I come back?
The fun of it. That's why I took you in.
And you may throw me out tomorrow if I don't do everything that you want.
Yes, and you may walk out tomorrow if you don't do everything you want.
And live with my stepfather.
Certainly you'll sell flowers.
If only I could sell flowers. I'd be free of you and mother and all the world. Why did you have to take my independence from me? Oh, why did I have to give it up? I'm a slave for all my fine clothes.
Not at all. I'll adopt you as my daughter. Give you an allowance if you like. Would you rather marry Pickering?
Oh, I wouldn't marry you if you asked me. And you're more like me than what he is.
Then he is, not then what he is.
I'll speak as I like. You're not my teacher now.
I don't suppose Pickering would, though. As much an old bachelor as I am.
That's not what I want. And don't you think it? I've always had enough men wanting me like that. Freddie Hills calls me twice, 3 times a day, for hours and hours.
Damn that nitwit.
He has a right to do so if he likes. Poor boy, and he loves me.
You have no right to encourage him.
Every girl has a right to be loved.
What, by fools like that?
Freddie's not a fool. And if he's weak and poor and wants me, it may be he'd make me happier than rich brutes who bully me and don't want me.
But can he make anything of you? That's the point.
Perhaps I could make something of him, but I never thought of us making anything of one another, and you never seem to think of anything else. I just want to be normal.
In short, you want me to be as infatuated with you about you as Freddie, is that it?
No, I don't. That's not the feeling I want from you, and don't you be too sure of yourself. I could have been a bad girl if I wanted. I've seen more of that sort than you for all your education. Girls like me can seduce guys like you easily enough. They just end up hating each other at the end.
Of course they do. What the hell are we arguing about?
I just want a little kindness. I know I'm a common ignorant girl and you're a highly educated gentleman, but I'm not dirt under your feet. What I did was not for the dresses or the taxis or the chocolates. I stayed because we were pleasant together, and I came to care for you. Not wanting you to make love to me, not forgetting the difference between us, but more friendly like.
Well, of course. That's just how I feel. And how Pickering feels. Eliza, you're a fool.
That's not a proper answer to give me.
It's all you'll get until you stop being an idiot. If you're going to be a lady, you have to stop feeling neglected if the men you know don't spend half their time fawning over you and the other half giving you black eyes. If you can't stand the coldness of this sort of life, or the strain of it, go back to the gutter. Work till you're more of a brute than a human being, and then cuddle, squabble, drink till you fall asleep. Oh, it's a fine life, the life of the gutter. It's warm, it's real, it's violent. You can feel it through the thickest skin. You can taste it and smell it without any training or talent, not like science and literature and classical music and philosophy and art. You find me cold, unfeeling, selfish, don't you? Very well. Be off with you to the sort of people you like. Marry some sentimental pig with a lot of money, a thick pair of lips to kiss you with, a thick pair of boots to kick you with. You don't appreciate what you've got, you better get what you can appreciate.
Oh, you are a cruel tyrant. I can't talk to you. You turn everything against me. I'm always in the wrong. But you know very well that you're nothing but a big bully. You know I can't go back to the gutter, as you call it, and that I have no real friends in the world but you and the Colonel. You certainly know I couldn't bear to live with a low common man after you two, and it's wicked and cruel of you to insult me by pretending I could. You think I have to go back to Canal Street because I have nowhere else to go but Mother's? But don't you be too sure that you have me under your feet to be trampled on and talked down to. I'll marry Freddie as soon as I'm able to support him.
Nonsense. You shall marry an ambassador. You'll marry a governor or the president or some foreign king or prince who wants a deputy queen. I'm not going to have my masterpiece thrown away on Freddie.
You think I want you to say that, but I haven't forgotten what you said a minute ago. And I won't be calmed down like a baby or a puppy. If I can't have kindness, I'll have independence.
Independence? That's middle-class blasphemy. We are all dependent on one another, every soul of us on earth.
You'll see whether I'm dependent on you. If you can preach, I can teach. I'll go and be a teacher.
What would you teach, in heaven's name?
What you taught me. I'll teach phonetics.
Ah!
I'll
Ah!
offer myself as an assistant to Professor Carpathy.
What? That imposter? That sycophant? That toadying ignoramus? Teach him my methods? My discoveries? You take one step in his direction, I'll wring your neck. Do you hear?
Oh, ring away. What do I care? I knew you'd hit me someday.
What?
Aha! Now I know how to deal with you. Oh, what a fool I was not to think of it before. You can't take away the knowledge you gave me. You once said I had a finer ear than you, and I can be civil and kind to people, which is more than you can. Oh, that's the end of you, Henry Higgins. No, I don't care for that. Your bullying and your big talk. Oh, I'll advertise it in the papers that your Duchess is only a flower girl that you taught, and she'll teach anybody to be a Duchess just the same for $5,000. Oh, when I think of myself crawling under your feet and being trampled on and called names when all I have to do was lift up my finger to be as good as you. Oh, I could kick myself.
You damned impudent slut, you. But it's better than sniveling. Better than fetching slippers and spectacles, isn't it? By God, Eliza, I said I'd make a woman of you, and I have. I like you like this.
Yes. Turn around and make nice to me now that I'm not afraid of you and can do without you.
Of course I do, you little fool. 5 minutes ago, you were a millstone around my neck. Now you're a tower of strength. You bestride the world like a colossus. You and I and Pickering will be 3 old bachelors together instead of 2 men and a silly girl.
The car's waiting, Eliza. Are you ready?
Quite. Is the professor coming?
Certainly not. He can't behave himself in church. He keeps interrupting the priest to correct his pronunciation.
Well.
Then I shall not see you again, Professor. Goodbye.
Goodbye, dear.
Oh, goodbye, Mother. Oh, by the way, Eliza, order a ham and a few pounds of Stilton cheese, will you? Buy me a tie to match my new suit. You can choose the color.
Buy them yourself.
I'm afraid you've spoiled that girl, Henry. But never mind, dear. I'll buy you the tie and things.
Oh, don't bother. She'll buy them all right enough. Goodbye. Huh. Galatea. Ha! Oh.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching. It is now time for the talk back. I assume someone is in charge of that and will relay information. I don't know. I live in a sieve. I mean, the rest of you can turn your videos on too. You don't have to leave me sitting here alone.
Funnier if we do.
Nuts. I like that though.
Abandon him into the dark.
Ay.
I thought that was the plan.
Nobody tells me the plan.
Did you already take your eyelashes off, Clara dear?
What was that?
My daughter already took her eyelashes off.
Oh. Did she? No.
Okay, they're still there. So she's just seeing you like that now.
Yeah.
All right. I see
They're
from
very natural.
YouTube comments that what was the most fun part for you actors?
Oh.
So, sure. Let's go. You know what? Let's make Higgins wait. Mrs. Pierce, what do you have to say on that?
Got to throw slippers at my husband.
I'll add to that. That was fun. Throwing slippers.
So also working with this wonderful group of people that wouldn't normally have the opportunity to work with. So, mwah, love you all.
Yeah, definitely a great group of people to work with for sure. And I mean, one more thing that I'll add to it. I mean, my fun part, which was also my most difficult part, was like doing the Jersey accent, which I'd never done before. So it was fun once I got it somewhat down.
Yeah, I feel like the most fun part for me was the part where I really like dug into the script and then like actually started writing on it. Like you guys can't see our scripts obviously, but we can, and I have like it up on 3 screens so I can be moving my head around, and I just like I'm writing, and I have all these comments from previous rehearsals written on them, and some of them are just so entertaining to myself.
The most fun part for me was seeing all the references that Shaw wrote, the parts we didn't change about Mrs. Higgins' idea about how men are not very bright. So I didn't feel like I was really acting that much.
Oh my dear. No.
I didn't even need to get updated. That's fine. It's been fine constantly through time.
For me, I thought it was fun and interesting how we put a twist on it with Alfie being the mother, especially in the 60s with the height of feminism, and, you know, for this mother to just go ahead and say, see you later. It was interesting. It was a very, it was an interesting but fun way of looking at it, I thought.
I see. Oh, you got it, Jules?
I can MC for you guys.
Excellent.
Another question is, how much rewrite did you do? And that will be towards John, our director.
I mean, everyone helped. So as I said at the start of the show, structurally the show is unchanged from the original text. All of the scenes that are there are there. I think the only thing I really cut out is I cut out like 5 pages of stage direction, because Shaw loved to direct from the page, where there's a lot of like very specific, my favorite one is when Act 2, Mrs. Pierce says, I hope you're not offended, Mr. Higgins. It says, Higgins, and then in parentheses, offended of being thought capable of an unamiable sentiment, or wounded at being thought capable. That's the emotional beat that Shaw's like, no, you're hitting that. That's what I want you to do every time. So we took out a lot of that structure, and we changed almost every line in the show is a little different, but they're not like changed from what they mean. Like Freddie might say, I'll just get soaked rather than I shall simply get drenched for nothing. Like that it's just a matter of like using synonyms that work or that work better with a more modern connotation. There's only a couple little lines that we like cut. There's a reference where Higgins, when he's yelling at Eliza, he says like, "No use slaving and then asking to be cared for. Who cares for a slave?" And I went, you know what? That half of the sentence doesn't need to be in the show anymore. The 1900s were a different time. So it's hard to like envision. It's like if you put the two scripts side by side, they look the same, but if you read them out loud, they sound very different. That we had a lot of stuff where if you go with like the original phrasing, it almost forces you to do like the accents of the Cockney and the RP, because it's just like these little like says I and all these little twists and turns. So we had to like change those to make it work with the more American Jersey accents. Yeah.
We have another question that says, what happens after? I guess after the, like, as the story continues on.
So that's something we talked about. Many people probably know of this show because it's the show that inspires My Fair Lady, where they end up together. Pygmalion, they do not end up together. They do not end up together so much that George Bernard Shaw wrote a 12-page like epilogue of, and this is what happens to everyone after this story, so that you can't make them fall in love because it's stupid. They would never do that. And he had thematic reasons to believe that. He also, George Bernard Shaw was a gifted and brilliant writer, and he was also a weird dude. He was very much, Higgins is based off of several people of the era, and also I feel based off of, in many ways, Shaw himself. So we talked about those ideas, and then we worked on our production. I don't know that we ever discussed in our continuity what we feel happens to our characters after. Does anyone have any ideas or thoughts they want to throw out as I drink from a jug?
Sorry.
I get divorced again.
Yeah, like I know that I have kind of like this image in my head of what happens, but I also kind of believe that like fiction is what you make it. So if you're like, I know exactly what happens, and I have my own fanfic ending for this, it's your fanfic ending. That's okay.
I'm gonna leave you, Mr. Higgins, and go work with Eliza.
Ooh. He'll just lose everyone.
As he should.
It's so sad. He's so childish, and he relies so much on other people, and then he can't, because he doesn't interact well with other people, like the people he relies on just leave him, and he has no it doesn't allow for any personal growth. Like there are tons of places in this show where people are criticizing him but not telling him why, and so he's sulking in the corner until he explodes, because there's no hey, this is the constructive thing to do. They're just like, you're an idiot and you need to sit down. And he's like, I'm not an idiot. I went to Yale.
Are there any funny rehearsal stories?
I see Molly's got her hand up again.
Oh, I think the most laughs that I remember around our accent work. And it's really hard to maintain your own accent when someone else is trying to speak a different accent. And so there were just some really funny moments in the script when we would adopt each other's accents, and then end up, none of us, we're speaking like Southern or New Jersey, but somehow we feel like British by the end. And so just trying to, stick with your own method of speaking throughout the play was a challenge, but also just really funny as we were trying them out. So that was fun.
I know for the slippers, the second time Molly threw the slippers, she literally hit me in the face twice with the slippers.
Okay, Glenn, I'm sure it was an accident.
It was totally an accident.
I'm trying to remember. I know there was one point where, going off of Molly's, particularly the section where Eliza's talking about the bathroom, and like how she covered up the mirror. That section was originally so intensely Cockney, and it turns out that like the only thing if you take Cockney and you put it in an American accent, it comes out very like Southern, and just every time we did like a pass of that scene, both Eliza and Alfie would turn Southern and would then need like the next 3 pages to change back. That they'd go in with Jersey, and then it was like, give her a lick at the line now we have is like, I never raised her except to give her a kick in the and it was originally like a lick of the strap, and that's just such a phrase that only really like, and it would you just see those lines and your brain automatically goes, I know the voice to make with that, and it's not the one I'm doing, so I'm changing it. And then you're like, no, we have to go back.
And then you're back.
So many accent stories.
I remember also, and I wish I could remember who it was or how, but I remember that like at one point someone accidentally like reversed the order of a line so that they ended up threatening to murder someone. Like, it was like, take out the blank and ask so-and-so, and it became like, ask the slippers and take out Mrs. Pierce, like, or something like that. It was just like, there was just like some reversal where the object became the person and vice versa.
This happened like at least in like 3 rehearsals where I called John Glenn. So I kept calling John, our director, Glenn, and Glenn is playing Henry Higgins. And I like, by the end of it, I was like, John, you should just like change your name to Glenn.
That's right. You would ask like, Glenn, what should I do in this beat? And Glenn would be like, I don't know why you would ask me that question. The director's right there.
Hey, so we have a question. Says, I enjoyed the Alfie character as Liza's mother. Was her attitude mostly from your own interpretation of the lines, or did John build the character with his rewrite and direction, or perhaps it was an equal collaboration on your talents?
Pretty clearly to you, Andrea.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't know. I mean, I think that John and I both added our preferences to Alfie. I mean, I kind of took her in a way where the attitude was very much kind of an interpretation of mine, where I felt like she needed to be really harsh for the time period because I was playing her as a woman. She needed, from myself, needed to be even harsher because a mother being willing to sell her daughter, it just made it, I needed to kind of add that to make it easier for myself to play a character like this. You kind of have to put that spin on it. But it was nice because Jonathan and I would, we would talk and he would kind of shape the direction she was going in. So I think it was a nice collaboration between us both.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that there's a lot that's kind of built into the original script because Alfred Doolittle, the 1914 garbage man, is criminally indifferent to his daughter, as can only be achieved in a world where they could just go to the factory and work and it's not your problem anymore. And so by leaving a lot of those components and ideas in, it forces this kind of like hyper, almost predatory. We talked about in rehearsal this idea that you almost can't think of Alfie as like evil, in that she's just doing what she has to do to survive. As she says in like her first appearance, don't you have any morals? No, I can't afford them. And so we knew that Andrea could do a Jersey accent. We liked that and how it played into the time periods we were looking at, because we considered a couple different ones. We didn't come into this knowing we were going to do 60s New York / New Jersey. We came in and I just said, look, I want to take this play and do it in an era that will connect with an American audience a bit better. Like I said at the start, like a lot of people, they just hear the Cockney, they hear the RP, and they kind of tune it out as a fantasy world because that's where we're used to hearing those accents. So when we settled on those ideas, then we had to take that character and make it fit that time. And Andre did a lot to use the sassiness of her character to justify some of her like rampant cruelty.
And if I can pipe in, I know that the first times you went over those lines, Andrea, like I was laughing out loud with some of the ways you were taking those interpretations because they were just so entertaining. Like you really took the character and made it somebody who you wanted to watch and clap for, even as they were saying things that you were like, this is awful, but I love you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. She was fun. I appreciate the opportunity because it's always a joy to be able to take characters that people think are, one way, and then here we go interpreting them. Because I mean, I'll tell you, a lot of people are like, "You're playing who?" It's like, yeah. I mean, it can be done. It's just all in the way that you work it.
And we have one last question in here, and this is, so if it took place in New Jersey, was it Long Beach?
Long Branch. That's my father. My father's from Long Branch. Hi, Dad. Shall I say your name, Michael Lubetkin? Hello.
To give, I don't think we need one, obviously, but to give like a semi-serious answer, we did definitely, the original script, like I said, Shaw, very focused on directing from the page, that he has very precise references to like every part of town that a character names is a real place in London or a real town just outside London. And so we spent a lot of time reflecting on like, so what is the New York equivalent of blank? That we have this idea of, oh, they're over on, I forget the road, Park Avenue, I think. He says, like, that's Andrea's line is the bystander. Like, you could live anywhere, like Park Avenue. Park Avenue is like along Hyde Park. It is the center of like the fanciest, richest houses in New York. So we changed it to the Hamptons. That's where, like in America, you have that idea of this is where the rich people go to be away from the poor. So we had like a map of New York up, and we're like, okay, so this is where this scene is taking place. Canal Street is a real street in Hudson Square in New York. That I don't know if there's legitimately a 27A. I assume not. Well, maybe there are plenty of apartments.
And we did set it in a historical period. I know that there were some areas that we were like, oh, well, this is fancy now, but then we look back in the 1960s and we're like, that wasn't fancy then.
And then we'll do one last question to all of the actors. Would you do virtual shows again? I know we have a few.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
We do have a few people who've been in our past shows. Glenn has been in Important to Be in Earnest. He shows up once in one of the Shakespeare showcase. Molly directed a show in the Shakespeare showcase, and she was also in Important to Be in Earnest. Monique has been in Shakespeare, and then I am blanking on your name. Andrea. She was in Shakespeare showcase too.
Yeah.
And John was he was in Person to Be in Earnest.
That was my favorite part. You're like, I'm blanking on your name. I'm like, there are 2 people left, so it's hard to know which one.
I come in the last like 2 or 3 days of rehearsal to do everything. So.
And shout out, Glenn is directing a show that has auditions in January. So you can check out those one acts on our Facebook page. And I definitely intend on auditioning for the Pride and Prejudice in the spring. So.
Yes, I already signed up to audition for the one acts, and I'm going to audition for all the things because I need to keep doing this. It's one of the few things that's keeping me feeling somewhat normal during these strange, unusual, stressful times.
You have to sharpen the saw.
And I definitely intend. Oh, and I like one of the things I really enjoy about the virtual theater experience is that I feel like I have the opportunity to do things that I can't do in regular theater. I don't know about the rest of you, but I had my script up for most of this show, and it really encouraged me to do all of the note taking that I remember in acting classes. They're like, oh, write all over your scripts, but I'm really bad at it because I'll start to put my script down really early to try to memorize things, and then the director will give me notes, and I'll be like, oh, I'll remember that. 5 minutes later, I don't remember anything. And it's really encouraged me to be like, oh yeah, no, like interact with your script, play with it, like turn this thing into something that like is a living document that's been really powerful for me as an actor. And I mean, there are certainly challenges, but there are some really real gifts here too.
I want to audition for the one acts. Wait, how do I get on that?
Just go to the website under auditions. The sign-up sheet's already up.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I did it right before we started.
Oh my god! Okay, thank you. Yay!
And the next show.
As an advertisement for my show, if you are an older lady or gentleman, the Bear is about a love interest / fighting couple of an older gentleman and an older lady, or it could be an older lady and an older lady, something like that. But I am definitely looking for older actors, so please audition.
How old?
Yeah, I was going to say. So you're
because we're old, but I don't know how old you want.
People? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying theater doesn't just have to be for the young.
There's 3 one-act plays, so it's not just Amy Knickerbocker, we directing one, and Caitlin Gorman from Importance of Being Earnest and Shakespeare will be as well.
2 comedies and a drama. They'll be fun.
Yeah.
And just some last comments to our audience. If you have any, if you want more information about Virtual Theater 2020, you can go into our website, which is in the description of this live video, and it will be down below in the YouTube video. Also, and that will have information on upcoming shows. They'll have information on there for auditions. They'll have links to all of our past shows that we've done. So you can go and rewatch those, or if you're new, you can go watch those for yourself. And then I believe, and there is a GoFundMe, so if you would like to donate to help us keep going for any expenses that come up, in the description, there is also the GoFundMe link, and we will very much appreciate some donations. So I believe that is it. So we'll all see you later at the next show. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
For coming.
Bye.